Who's that coming down the track? Who's that coming down the track? It's a mean machine, red and black. It's a mean machine, red and black. Ain't nothing modern in the land. Ain't nothing modern in the land. And a drunk on Russians join the band. And a drunk on Russians join the band. Go no!
What's up, y'all? This is John and Mike back for another episode of the Nothing Finer podcast. As always, on Millions and as a part of the Fans First Sports Network, we are finishing our series on the craziest season in the history of college football, and that is 2007. This is our last episode, part 10, unintentionally very round number, on our Jackpot What Happened in 2007 series. We're going through week 14, which mix of conference championship and regular season games and bowl season up into the national championship. But before we get into anything else, serious comment. Without YouTube channel SW561 doing the Lord's work, and by that I mean putting... All right, I'm just going to read the first little bit of his channel description. Watch full season highlights of classic NFL, MLB, college basketball, and football. What I was trying to do is document these seasons from start to finish using SportsCenter, NFL Primetime, Baseball Tonight, etc. Without this man doing the Lord's work, this series would have been very difficult for us and probably more difficult for you guys to listen to. So I do plan on reaching out to this guy to just let him know how much we appreciate him.
His very last sentence in his description is, if there's something that was important to you and it's not here, you should have recorded it at the time. I'm here. That's my fucking kind of energy.
Yeah, and this channel is my contribution to preserving these moments. Sir, these are not just your contribution, but we are riding on your coattails for this 10-part series. And
he walked so we can run.
Yes. And Mr. SW561, if you honestly, let's try and get him on the podcast in the off season.
Dude has almost 18 million views across all of his videos, man. He's shout out him or her.
Yeah, dude could have 3 subscribers and 5 views, and those all views be us. This man's doing, man or woman, is doing the Lord's work. And deserves, currently he has 9.31 thousand subscribers. He needs more.
Absolutely.
He needs more.
We're two of them, for sure.
Correct. And I'm going to get on the podcast, YouTube, here in a minute and subscribe. Because truly, without this guy's YouTube, we would have 50% of the content we have for this series. But also, just a little inside the park baseball here. We just finished recording with Matt Austin. I am on my second glass of whiskey with no real meals today, just some boiled peanuts and Wales crackers. So, let's go.
I'm just drinking water, but it sounds like I've been drinking all day.
And you know what? Whales are superior to goldfish. Just saying.
I can't remember the last time I've had a whale.
Go get some whales. First off, they taste more like real cheese. They have more salt to them. They're crunchier. Whales are better than goldfish.
In every single way.
Yeah. Are you telling me a goldfish would beat a whale in a fight? Fuck off.
No. Grow up. Yeah.
So we're going to go ahead and get started with week 14 BCS standings. Shit's a little crazy. It is.
That's an understatement.
So at 1, we have Missouri. Yes, this is the same Missouri that's already lost a game this season. Yep. At 2, we have West Virginia. 3 is Ohio State. 4 is Georgia. 5 is Kansas. Not Kansas State. Kansas. Just for recent college football fans. Kansas has been good before.
Not very often,
Yeah.
but they have been good.
6, we have Virginia Tech. 7, LSU. 8, Southern Cal, the real USC. 9, Oklahoma. 10, Florida. 11, Boston College. 12, Hawaii. 13, Arizona State. 14, Tennessee. 15, Illinois. And Mr. Juice Williams. 16, Clemson. 17, Oregon. 18, Wisconsin. 19, Mountain West BYU, before they even went independent. 20 Texas, 21 USF, 22 Virginia, 23 Cincinnati, 24 Auburn, 25 Boise State. Important note, the only power conferences to have actual championship games are the SEC, ACC, and Big 12. The Big 10 and Pac 10 were, at that time, okay with having split conference championships, the regular season champion just being the champion. And that's important just because there were the SEC, ACC, and Big 12 had championship games this weekend, while the Big 10 and Pac 10 were having conference games that decided conference champions.
Yeah.
Um,
It's a wild time.
It was. Yeah, you in these SW561 videos, you will legitimately go from like the Big 12 playing their conference championship game in an NFL stadium, Big 12 on the field, to USC and UCLA, and they're like for the conference championship, and meanwhile you're in the Coliseum.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting. But man, I'm glad college football got away from that.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more.
First game, number 9 Oklahoma versus number 1 Mizzou in San Antonio for the Big 12 championship. I'm assuming this is in the Alamo Dome.
Yeah. Yep.
I will say San Antonio is a phenomenal town. It really is. Beautiful. The Riverwalk. Love it. Oklahoma beats Mizzou for the second time in this season, winning 38-17. Sam Bradford, 18-26 for 209 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Chase Daniel's streak of 17 straight games of throwing for a touchdown pass were snapped. He went 23-39 for 219 yards, 1 pick. He did have a rushing touchdown, but they did say it in this game. The last game Chase Daniel did not throw a touchdown in was Oklahoma in 2006.
The boogeyman.
Yeah.
The boogeyman. Yeah, it's funny. I mean, because obviously Jerry World wasn't open yet. Dallas Cowboys are still a thing, but just for the fact that they're playing in the Alamo Dome, it's just wild to me. And then like another conference championship game we're gonna get to in a little bit, where they played it at, makes absolutely no sense. But we'll get to that in a little bit. But Missouri is win this game. Didn't matter if it was pretty or not. National championship, at least an appearance. Couldn't do that.
Couldn't do it. And this game, it wasn't necessarily close, but in the highlights, you saw why Mizzou was ranked number 1.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and this is one of those times of, it is, I'm going to misstate the stat again, because we don't use stats or facts here. You only beat a team twice in a season in college football, something like 30% of the time.
Right.
So Oklahoma's part of that 30%. And if you can hear the cat in the background, I don't know why he's screaming. I apologize.
I can't hear it for what it's worth.
That is worth a lot. Pittsburgh at number 2 West Virginia, backyard brawl, and in this game Pitt didn't eat shit. They won it 13-9 in the least amount of points West Virginia had scored in the past 2 seasons. And Pat White went down to a thumb injury on his throwing hand in the first quarter. Sat out the second quarter, came out in the third quarter in street clothes. And then they were still losing. So in between third and fourth quarter, he went and changed back into pads and came back in this game, tried to win it. I will say the
Gutsy.
injury reports from 2007. I saw 3 different diagnoses on his thumb just in that highlight video. The in-game not the in-game college football final said he tore a ligament in his thumb.
Mhm.
During the game, it had a graphic saying he dislocated his thumb. And then in like the post-game graphic, it said he broke his thumb.
Which is it?
None of them are good. One of
Right.
them you can put back in place and continue to do part of what you were doing.
Hmm.
But he did play in the bowl game, so I would lean towards dislocated.
Yeah, it seems more right.
Um, but he was largely ineffective coming back into that game. The the pictures that you saw during the game, especially in the highlight video, this is gonna surprise a lot of people, especially in the group chat. Like mid 2000s Umaga WWE wrestler thumb cast
Yeah.
is what they had his hand taped like.
Yeah, it was wild, a wild scene.
And he came back in the game trying to lead his team. Steve Slayton had 9 carries for 11 yards. Pitt's defense was stout, to say the
Yeah.
least. Pitt running back, a guy you guys may have heard of before, LaShawn Shady McCoy, had 38 carries for 146 yards. And another guy y'all may have heard of, West Virginia kicker Pat McAfee, was 0 for 2 on field goals and got a lot of shit from the West Virginia fans. And ironically, this morning, waking up, scrolling through reels, I watched an interview with Matt Barnes. That he used to be an NBA star, correct?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay,
Hmm.
right guy.
Certifiably crazy too, by the way. He drove across town to beat up his baby mama's boyfriend, who was Derek Fisher, who played with the Lakers forever. It's NBA. The most interesting part about the NBA is all the off court stuff, not actually what happens on the court. But yeah.
Didn't know that, but he has a podcast
Yeah. No.
with another guy. I don't know the guy's name.
Steven Jackson. He was one of the guys that were in the Malice at the Palace, one of the
Okay,
instigators of that. Yeah. So both batshit crazy, but yeah.
that sounds like a fun podcast to listen to.
Dude, it is fun. They're pretty funny. They have some good guys.
But they were talking to Pat McAfee, and literally heard this morning before I started looking at highlights. It was just one of those circumstances that matched perfectly. Um, Pat McAfee got death threats delivered to his house, handwritten letters that were put in his door frame, and then people also. This is the most West Virginia thing I've ever heard. People rolled up letters, stuck them in beer bottles, and threw them at his house in the middle of the night to deliver letters.
Mountaineer cocktail.
Yup. But legitimately, he said he got dozens of death threats the
Mhm.
night after this game. So much so that he got in his car and left Morgantown with no intention of ever returning because he was afraid for his life.
Mm.
And teammates and friends called him and convinced him to come home. But chill, dude.
That's wild. I mean, I can understand why everybody would be mad at him, but at the same time, Rich Rodriguez called it absolute horseshit game too. Like there was a time when Pat White came back in the game, they were down 13-7 or
Are you talking about
13-9.
that fourth down, like long
Yeah.
fourth down play where he called a halfback dive?
Yeah. It was like
Yeah.
a 32-yard field goal or something like that. It would have been. It would have made it like a one-score game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Like,
I think it was 30. I think it was 13-7. I could be wrong.
no, it's 13-9. It was
It
4
wasn't?
points.
Okay.
Had he
Okay.
now had he made those 2 field goals, they would have won that game, correct?
Yep. Yep.
But the fact that Pat White got hurt, Steve Slayton couldn't get going, Rich
Mm.
Rod called a terrible game. Like, Pat McAfee is the 4th guy on that list to blame.
Right,
He
right.
was responsible for them not getting 6 points, not responsible for everything else. So
Yeah,
if you're one of those West Virginia fans, you suck.
yeah, indeed.
Um, but it was debatable whether or not Rich Rod was going to talking to Michigan about the job prior to this game.
Hmm.
As we know now, um, he very much was.
Yeah.
Just a fan of blue and yellow, I guess.
Hmm.
And it's yellow, not maize. Don't come after me.
He and it's wild too because he's a West Virginia alum. Uh, I'm not gonna call him a lifer because he obviously wasn't a lifer there, but he
Oh, we'll get to a lifer in the next game we talk about.
yeah, but like with Rich Rod, it was, I don't know if you remember hearing this, but like when he left, like when he kind of took the Michigan job and was kind of getting all this stuff together, he started burning all these documents and shit, like drawers full of like like files and stuff like that. He just decided to burn, just hiding whatever he did, which gonna beat you to it, makes him a Michigan man, right? Um,
I wasn't going there, but I love it.
but yeah, I mean that whole situation was very odd. But I can't say that the guy we're gonna talk about next would have been much better, but who knows?
Fair. And the guy we're talking about next is Les Miles leading the LSU Tigers versus number 14 Tennessee in the SEC Championship in the Georgia Dome. LSU ended up winning this game 21-14. Eric Ainge was quite literally the definition of mid. 50% completion, 20 of 40, 249 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. But to be fair to friend of the show, as some would say, Eric Ainge, his first 3 quarters were good.
Yeah,
It was the fourth quarter where he had
about pick six.
a pick six, another interception, and like 7 other incompletions. Just saying.
Yeah, he completely fell apart when they needed him the most.
That was a spoiler alert on the rest of his life. Anyways, Arian Foster had 51 yards rushing in addition to a 47-yard catch. Eric Berry had a pick in this game. LSU quarterback Ryan Perrilloux was 20 of 30 for 243 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Matt Flynn did play in this game. Um, Unsure of his stats. He was injured at this point in the season.
Mhm.
But Jacob Hester, 23 carries, 120 yards. Here's where the controversy comes in. Because 2007 couldn't be just a normal season.
No,
Before the game, Kurt Herbstreit made shockwaves claiming that Les Miles accepted the Michigan job. And, as not necessarily Kurt fans on the show, has a history of bad takes. But we believe he was correct in this call, with the exception of the timing, because Les Miles was pissed it got leaked and backed out.
hmm
And we say that because in the post-game press conference, Les Miles said he loves Michigan, played under Bo. You're going to have to say the last name.
Schembechler.
I wanted to say Schwellenbach, but that's the Braves pitcher. Way too many
Schembechler. Yeah,
consonants.
yeah.
Way too many consonants.
That's why we just say Bo Schembechler. But yeah, you said, I mean, he played under them. I mean, it was talked about so much. I mean, they flirted with that with Les Miles before. They actually talked about him after they fired Rich Rod, maybe trying to go after him again, and that was squashed. Because I think that time, that was the year that they played Alabama national championship too. But yeah, he said he'd do anything for Michigan. He's not coaching them. And he did take a dig at Lloyd Carr a little bit. He's like, I'll do anything that they need for me, and someday, Michigan will finally beat Ohio, and
Yeah, yeah.
I'm waiting for it.
So, sorry. He said, I'm a Michigan man for life. I will put on the blue and I think he said maize, but it's yellow. And he said, I will put on those colors every time Michigan plays Ohio, and someday they'll win.
Yeah. Yep.
But to be fair to Lloyd Carr, which after the season Michigan had, I doubt very many people were. He coached for 13 years and lost a total of 40 games.
Mhm.
Problem is, 7 of those were to Ohio State.
Well, and that was just in the last like few years that he was there because he dominated Ohio State early on, and then it kind of tailed off just like it did the next 15 years after this. Well, not well, ish 15-ish years, but yeah, he killed them in the 90s too.
Yeah. Um, Next game, number 6 Virginia Tech versus number 11 Boston College in the ACC Championship in Jacksonville.
Nothing says ACC like Jacksonville, Florida.
Both trash for the most part.
Fair.
Virginia Tech won this game 30-16. It was close in the first half. I will say probably most of the third quarter as well.
Mm.
Virginia Tech just got the better of Matt Ryan. Um, Ironically, Matt Ryan got the better of a former Virginia Tech quarterback in the NFL.
Damn, that he did.
Just,
Took his
just,
job.
just
Kind of.
saying.
Did
Um,
when you were watching this, did you I don't know if I misheard it or I missed part of it, but did Lou Holtz call Matt Ryan a mobile quarterback? Because he did
he
have a
did.
rushing touchdown.
No, he definitely
And
did. Matt Ryan shockingly had, if you take away the sacks from this game, Matt Ryan probably had 70 yards rushing.
yeah, he did. Yeah.
Um,
Like 30 of it was on that one touchdown run.
right. But the problem is, if you add the sacks back in, it was probably still negative.
Right. Yeah, probably.
Matt Ryan got his ass beat in this game.
Hmm.
It's a good thing he was young, because if this was a late Falcons Matt Ryan getting his ass beat like that, he may not walk right anymore, because there's one play in specific. It was a play Virginia Tech recovered a fumble for a touchdown that would today 100% be targeting.
Hmm.
This Virginia Tech linebacker came off the edge unblocked, face mask to ear hold, Matt Ryan. The ball went flying backwards, and touchdown Virginia Tech. That was
It's pretty sweet. It really was.
it's one of those that makes you miss old college football, but also makes you realize there's a lot of quarterbacks in college football in the NFL right now that would probably be playing lacrosse or basketball if those hits were still legal.
Yeah, for sure.
Washington at Hawaii. Now, do you know if this was a conference game in the WAC?
No, no. Washington was in the Pac-10 at that time.
That's what I thought.
Washington. I don't know if they had a bowl ban or not. They had Jake Locker, which ended up being like a top 10 overall pick in the NFL at quarterback. But um, Washington, I think maybe they knew that they were going to go to a bowl game, and they did the old like Alabama thing, like, hey, we're not going to a bowl game. Let's schedule Hawaii like in December, and that's going to be our bowl game.
And to be fair, it was at Hawaii. So if Washington stayed a few extra days, that's better than the bowl in Jacksonville in December.
Right. Exactly.
Hawaii won this game 35-28. It was very close until the end of the fourth quarter. Um, Hawaii quarterback Colt Brennan did ball out in this game.
Yeah, he did.
Jake Locker also balled out, but Hawaii ended up taking this one to stay undefeated, first and only undefeated season in the history of the Hawaii football program. Um, but yeah, no, if you told me that I could go to Hawaii for 6 days in December, I'd be there.
Absolutely.
Oregon State at number 17, Oregon. This is the same Oregon that was ranked number 2 3 episodes ago.
Yep.
The real OSU won 38-31. Dennis Dixon did not play, and Oregon lost their 4th game of the season. Oregon State kind of dominated this game. 38-31 doesn't really tell you all about it because Oregon State got, I believe, 14 points on defense.
There was a couple block kicks in there too.
Yeah, it was defense and special teams really got Oregon State this game.
Mm.
Dennis Dixon being injured, it was a huge part of Oregon losing this game. Um, Spoiler, he didn't play in their bowl game either. Was still injured, not too injured to be hype as hell on the sideline when the backup quarterback made good plays.
Right, right.
Um, we're gonna get into the 2007 College Football Award winners. The Heisman went to Tim Tebow, the first sophomore to ever win the award.
You don't have to say that.
Yeah, I was about to say you can say that. I was reading it and I was like, should we? Should,
No, no, maybe not.
okay, okay. Um,
But we've
just
said I've made allusions to this before and said it before, but I'm growing up.
yeah, it is just a comment on how ridiculous it was that Herschel Walker was not able to win the Heisman before his junior season. But Tim Tebow won it with 1,957 points. Darren McFadden 1,703. Colt Brennan from Hawaii came in third at 632 points, and Chase Daniel at fourth with 425. I'm going to need you to do this next one because that is 100% a Midwest name that I can pronounce.
I mean, that's maybe the most Midwest sentence of all time too. So Dick Butkus award winner went to or the award went to Ohio State linebacker James Laurinaitis, the son of one of the Road Warriors in WWE, played in the NFL for a while for the Rams and I think another team.
Wait, did did his family get their name because there was an ancestor named Lauren that had tinnitus?
I mean, possibly, I don't know.
That's what we're going with.
Yeah,
Alternative facts.
yeah, yeah, my feelings don't care about facts.
The Doak Walker Award went to Darren McFadden. UCF and former Lions running back Kevin Smith had the second best rushing season of all time behind Barry Sanders and wasn't even a finalist. He had 2,567 yards, 30 touchdowns in his junior season. He was a consensus All American, and this is one of those few times that I am okay with a player getting a career award instead of a season award. Because
Darren McFadden should have got something. He should have got a Heisman
Darren McFadden should
too.
have
But
gotten a Heisman at some point in his career. Um, Kevin Smith, watching the highlights just today of what he did throughout that season, should have been a finalist for this and potentially the Heisman. Like that,
mm.
his season absolutely ridiculous. The highlights. Go on YouTube and watch Kevin Smith highlights from college.
And the funny part about Kevin Smith too, I mean, we won't talk about it too long, but like I think it's like his freshman season he had like 400 yards rushing. His sophomore season he had like 700, and then he had 2,500 yards his junior year.
Yeah, and the big thing is he didn't have he was absolutely the most explosive running back of the season because he would run into a brick wall, somehow filter through, and then take off for 60 yards, and nobody on the field caught him.
Mhm.
Nobody on the field got close to catching him.
One other thing I'll say about him is I don't want to poo-poo this at all because I mean I put it in there, but he did play in Conference USA. It wasn't like he was playing the Big 12 or Power Five conference. Like CUSA is probably right there with the MAC, right?
It used to be, for sure.
Yeah.
Not so much over the last few years, but
Mm.
I mean, when you're closer to 3,000 yards than 2,000, you need some
Yeah, he did something
recognition.
right. Right. hmm And of course, the Lions ended up drafting him, and he was just fucking spent. He I mean that entire year he was UCF's offense, and yeah,
Very, not trying to dig deeper into the wound here, but very much like a Carry On Johnson.
yeah, exactly. Yep. hmm
Somehow more wear and tear than Carry On Johnson going into the NFL.
hmm
Like this is a guy that gave 200% to UCF and essentially got nothing out of it. So
hmm
shout out Kevin Smith.
I think
And
he's
if you're
the running back coach at Ole Miss now, I believe.
Well, that would make a lot of sense.
Yeah,
But also, if your jersey's not retired in the bounce house, it should be.
absolutely.
The Bolitnikoff this year went to Michael Crabtree of Texas Tech, as it
Of
should.
course. Yeah.
One of the most ridiculous receiving seasons of all time. I don't care if it was an air raid offense.
Mm.
The Nagurski Award went to LSU defensive tackle Glenn Dorsey, just another in the list of names that pretty much everybody knows.
Mm.
The Johnny Unitas Golden Arm Award, something I've just recently learned about this award. It is specifically for seniors,
Oh, okay.
specifically for senior quarterbacks. Matt Ryan won this award. You put in here only time anyone said he had a golden arm. Fair.
Yeah.
Um, but I'll just be honest with y'all. The reason that I know this is only for seniors is when I was doing my Dynasty in College Football 25 and had 7,500 yards passing, and my quarterback won the Heisman Player of the Year, first team All American, and a laundry list of awards. He wasn't even a finalist for the Golden Arm, and I was like, what the hell? And then in the description, it says for best senior quarterback. And I was like, okay, he's a
Fair.
freshman. He's a redshirt freshman. I get it. Um, Walter Payton Award, which at the time went to the best Division I 2A player, Georgia Southern player Jason Foster. Shout out Georgia Southern. Get after their ass. All of the above. You want to take the final BCS rankings?
Yeah. All right. So yeah, final going into bowl season here. Number with all the chaos that happened the week before for like the sixth time in 13 weeks, the number two team losing, and the
And
first
number
time,
one team this time.
and well, that was the first time in BCS history that number one and number two lost in this on the final day of the season. Too, I know that. Shout out college football final. They threw that in there
Also, shout
too.
out Dog Sports Memes for the reels we've been working on together
Hell yeah.
for the 2007 series.
Yeah, let's go. All right, so yeah, number one is Ohio State, number two, LSU, three, Virginia Tech, four, Oklahoma, jumped Georgia because they did win the Big 12. Five was Georgia, six, Missouri, seven, USC, the real USC, Southern Cal, eight, Kansas, number nine, West Virginia, all the way down from two. Hawaii came in at number 10, Arizona State at 11, Florida came in at 12, Illinois at 13, Rose Bowl bound. 14 Boston College, 15 Clemson, 16 Tennessee, 17 BYU, 18 Wisconsin, 19 Texas, 20 Virginia, 21 USF, and not really South Florida, but yeah, talked about that a
Oof.
lot. Oof, yeah. University of West Florida. Number two, 22 Cincinnati, 23 Auburn, 24 Boise, and then 25 UConn back in that top 25. Just for shits and gigs, when I was watching the recap of the papajohns.com bowl. Oh no, you said this. I was
Yeah,
about to put
yeah.
this. I knew you
So
did.
so I was watching, because when I went into the playlist of the 2007 series on SW561's YouTube channel, once again, check this guy out. Watching a recap because I just went through the playlist and I was doing stuff and watching this in the background. They started talking about the papajohns.com bowl, which I'll be honest, I don't know the teams that were in it. I remember it was a close game, just like
Yep.
damn near every bowl game in 2007.
Right.
The commentary crew was shook that you could order pizza online. And
Yeah, they
now,
said something about Domino's too, and then I had to look at it that it was the Papa John's bowl. Yeah.
I'll be honest, I don't know the last time I have called to order a pizza. I don't know if I've ever done it. With websites and
Yeah.
apps, like as someone who's 28 years old, by the time I had enough money to order pizza,
hmm
I don't know if I've ever called.
I unless like we were like in some like remote part of like wherever we were going, like on like vacation somewhere. Like I don't think I have either. I mean, Little Caesars has been doing hot and ready's for 20 years. So like 20 years ago, I was getting that. So
Yeah, like
all that.
seriously, I legitimately do not know if I've ever called to order a pizza. And that, to be fair, I was 12 years old in 2007, obviously when you could start ordering online. But
Mhm.
just wild to me in this day and age that they spent like during game time, they were talking about how wild it is you could order pizza online.
Did they say, is this fad gonna stick? 'Cause I feel like they said they alluded to something like that.
I think so.
Who would
Spoil
order a pizza online? Come on.
spoiler: Reese Davis and Lou Holtz. It's 2024. I've never called to order a pizza.
I try my best to avoid calling anything
Correct.
because I'm a
Correct.
millennial and I don't do that. I don't call
Yeah,
places.
I don't. The only person that I regularly talk on the phone to is my wife and the
Mhm.
office that I work for.
Yeah.
That that's it. Well,
Mhm.
I talk to my mom at least
Yeah. I
once a
mean,
week.
I'm the same. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm in the same. Yeah. But
but unless you're family or sign my paycheck, I don't talk to you.
no, yeah, my social battery is super thin
Like
or
I
low most of the time.
text, Facebook message, Instagram. Cool, I got that. You want to hear my voice? Listen to the podcast, rate and review 5 stars.
It's like you're gonna have to fucking download and subscribe.
Second note that we're not necessarily going to talk about the game, but I just thought it was really funny. Texas in their bowl game got an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty because Mac Brown touched a fumble that was inbounds and in play that Texas forced.
No,
So,
was it Mac or was it somebody else? I thought it was somebody else that did it.
so college football finals said Mac Brown. I don't
Okay.
know. This dude did not have gray enough hair for it to be Mac Brown. No shade intended.
Yeah. They
The
kept
guy.
zooming in on like it looked like a grad assistant or something like that. That looked like the ball was coming toward him and he was about to pick it up. I don't even know if he really touched it.
So he definitely did. He
Okay.
definitely did. When they showed the slow mo, he did. Um,
Okay.
but I don't even know who Texas played in this bowl game. It was a close game. They forced a fumble in the red zone, and it went bouncing backwards.
Hmm.
And their entire coaching staff was on the field.
They
Shouldn't
were,
have
yeah.
been, but they were. And this ball was bouncing out of bounds, which a fumble backwards out of bounds goes back to the offense. It would have been a makeable field goal to, I believe, extend the lead in this game. And this grad assistant, I truly believe it was an accident, just like an
Yeah.
instinct thing,
Mm.
stuck his hands out, and the ball bounced off of his thumb and went further inbounds
Yeah. Mm.
after it was coming out of bounds. And apparently, it took a long time for the officiating crew to figure out what to do because how many times does that ever happen?
Right.
But not only did the offense on this third and long get the ball back, they got a first down, 15-yard penalty on Texas, and scored a touchdown on the next play.
Mm.
Get back coaches were not doing their job.
No. No.
We're gonna go to the Sugar Bowl, number 10 Hawaii versus number 5 Georgia, and ESPN said this was played in the Superior Dome in Marquette, Michigan. When you go to the box score, they said it was actually played in Tulane Stadium, which they claimed held 74,000 fans. Do we know where this game was actually played?
If I had to guess, they probably played this in New Orleans at the Superdome, but you can't really tell.
I am looking it up.
Oh no, I mean it was definitely played in at the Superdome.
According to Wikipedia, it was at the Louisiana Superdome in New Orleans.
Yeah. Yeah, it was 100% there. I don't know. And that they did this for two games, ESPN.com.
They did that Rutgers game where they said it was in some town I couldn't pronounce.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But Georgia dominated this game 41-10. We've talked about doing it to hell with everyone on this game. Let us know if y'all want us to do it next off season. Um, But Colt Brennan, rest in peace, was abused in this game. It was pretty brutal for him. He was 22 of 38 for 169 yards, 3 interceptions, and 2 fumbles. He was sacked 8 times and hit. If quarterback hit was a stat in this game, I'm pretty sure everybody that played on Georgia's defense that day had one.
Yeah.
It was second time in the season that Georgia wore black uniforms. But Stafford was 14 to 24, 175 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Big Joe Cox, 0 of 4. Thomas Brown had 19 carries for 73 yards. No Sean's 9 carries, 61 yards. Thomas Brown had a touchdown. And No Sean had 2. Also ran for a touchdown with 10 guys in the box. College Football Final felt the need to point that out, which is impressive, but no
Yeah.
one really even touched him.
Mm.
And Georgia defensive back Asher Allen had 2 interceptions in this game. It was a brutal, brutal game
Yeah.
for Hawaii.
And I mean, that was, the one and only time they made a BCS game, that, the year, what was it, the year prior, Boise beat Oklahoma in the Fiesta Bowl. Maybe people, some people are thinking that the group of five or whatever will pull off another upset, and decisively did not.
The only thing they upset was their fans.
They flew all the way from freaking Honolulu to New Orleans just to see that. But again, New Orleans is cool.
New Orleans is cool. It is cold in the winter though.
Yeah, you're on the water. It makes sense.
Yeah. Um. Damn it! I had something I was about to say. All right, we'll move on. If I remember, I'll say it. Capital One Orange Bowl, Michigan versus Florida. This was the Orange Bowl, correct?
It was in Orlando. It was a Citrus. Well, it was in the Citrus
Citrus
Bowl,
Bowl.
but it was the Capital One Bowl. I don't know
Capital
what it
One
was
moved
after
up in
that.
the world and got the Orange Bowl.
Oh yeah,
They
that's
went
right. Yeah,
they went from general citrus to specifically orange.
yeah,
We're still waiting on lemon, lime, and grapefruit to get their bowls.
yeah.
Michigan won a thriller 41-35 in Orlando, and this was Michigan coach Lloyd Carr's final game. Rich Rod had accepted the job and was just creeping on the sidelines, looking mad the entire time.
Just not going to keep a fucking soul except for the running back coach. He fired everybody like right after that game.
And he really was lurking. Like, not, it was very uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah,
Chad Henne was 25 of 39, 373 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Probably his best game of the season.
yeah, probably. Yeah.
He stayed healthy through the whole game and had good stats. Got to
Mm,
be up there.
yeah.
Mike Hart, 32 carries, 129 yards, 2 touchdowns. I will say he did have a fumble in this game, which was his first in over 1,000 rushing yards. Only the second
Yeah.
fumble in his career. Insanity.
Yeah, it's like and a 4-year starter only fumbled the ball twice, and one of those in his last game, which is crazy.
And he was very angry on the sideline in the clip that we saw. Wide receiver Mario Manningham, 7 carries for 53 yards to go with 5 catches, 78 yards, 1 touchdown. Wide receiver Adrian Arrington, 9 catches, 153 yards, 2 touchdowns. And once again, versus a quality opponent, Percy Harvin was really Florida's only weapon. 13 carries, 165 yards, and a touchdown to go along with 9 catches, 77 yards, and a touchdown. Tebow was just over 50%, 1733, 154 yards, 3 touchdowns, 17 carries, 57 yards, and another on the ground. Aaron Hernandez was not able to kill Michigan. Just over 10 yards a catch at 3 catches for 31 yards. And this is another game that it really is worth watch if you go back and are bored. Both teams played well, played hard. And this was the only time Urban Meyer ever lost to Michigan. And
Mm,
also, for Georgia fans, Tim Tebow definitely got helicoptered in this game. Like John Elway without the
yeah.
touchdown.
Hmm.
It did a full 360, if not more, in the air before landing flat on his back.
I mean, I'm surprised God didn't come down and smite whoever caused that.
I'm I I want to make a joke and I am deciding not to.
We're making such
Um,
good progress. Look at us.
I know, man. We're sooner or later people are gonna call us part of the media or something.
Hopefully.
You want to take the next couple games?
Yeah. So Rose Bowl, not a whole lot to talk about here. Number 13, Illinois against USC. Number 7, USC, I should say. Illinois ran out of juice, literally. USC won this game 49-17, and it really wasn't even as close as that score indicated. ESPN said Illinois quarterback Eddie McGee was 1 for 1 for 56 yards and a touchdown, but the team itself was 22 of 36 for 330 yards, a touchdown, and 2 interceptions. Um, I don't know who else would have thrown the ball. Could there have been another quarterback there? I don't know.
I believe so.
Yeah, I mean, who's to say? I don't know. ESPN, I can't find an ESPN. Must not exist. I don't
Shout out Juice.
know. But after the game, the national media, I saw in a few different places. I think like New York Times and just like some other publications when I was trying to look into this game because I don't remember actually watching this game. I just remember Illinois getting to it. But they said the national media realized the two best teams in the country at this point were actually Georgia and USC, and they were mad. Everybody was big mad at computers. I think for good reason. I don't know about you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean USC was good. I mean they definitely were, but Georgia again can't tell me they weren't a top two team
Nobody
at
wanted to
this
play
point.
Georgia at this point in the season,
Mhm.
and mathematically, for every model except the BCS, they should have been playing Ohio State in the national championship game.
Mhm.
Just saying.
Well, if Tennessee would have lost, they beat Vandy by 1 point. They beat Kentucky by two. I think the last like two SEC games, like
Yep,
they had it there for them, and just yeah, that sucks. But you know what? Don't lose to South Carolina. Don't lose to Tennessee.
correct. Ever again, please.
Yeah, please. Yeah, I can't handle it if they do. Um, Chick-fil-A Bowl, number 15 Clemson at not at, but against number 23 Auburn. Auburn won 23-20. Really, the only thing interesting in this game was that Clemson had running back CJ Spiller, which I don't know how much you remember him. Dude was sick.
He was. I
Uh,
mean, he was the only offense in the first half of that game.
literally, he had eight for the game. He had 8 carries for 112 yards, but 83 of those yards were on one run that he scored on. So, and shout out CJ Spiller. I thought he was going to do big things with the Buffalo Bills, but Buffalo wasn't ready for him yet. All right, but moving on, the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl, number 9 West Virginia versus number 4 Oklahoma. Oklahoma is in this game for the second year in a row, and yet again they lived up to the Choklahoma name, and West Virginia won 48-28 without a head coach.
Yeah, this West a healthy Pat White just dismantled Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
It
He,
was
yeah.
it was tough.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you can say that Oklahoma decided to opt out of non-championship games way earlier than like Florida State or anybody else. So they're trailblazers in that sense.
Yeah, I mean it's ironic that it's maroon teams or crimson or whatever shade of dark orange you want to call yourself.
Yeah. They but like you talked about with Pat White, the team itself ran for 349 yards. Pat White himself had 150 yards on the ground. Steve Slayton only had 1 carry for -2 yards. I wasn't really sure what happened to him. He must have got hurt, I assume. But Sam Bradford made a glass, 22 of 34, 245 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 pick. And again, somehow the next season for Sam Bradford, he was obviously really good. He ended up being the number 1 pick the following year. But this year he was efficient for the most part, but uh, it wasn't killing anybody. Um, I guess this is his freshman year because he was the number 1 pick in 2010 or yeah, whatever it was. Never mind. I'm getting lost in the sauce. Anyway, um, Orange Bowl, number 8 Kansas versus number 3 Virginia Tech. Kansas completed their best season in program history, beating Virginia Tech 24-21 in Miami. In the
Another
actual
game
bowl,
that you should go back and watch. The
yeah.
highlights were a lot of fun. Not a ton of scoring, which
Mm,
we've talked about before is kind of one of my favorite things when I go back and watch games. But this was defensive touchdowns, special teams plays, like it all three facets of football were in play for this game. It really was a fun one.
Yeah. Um, it really was. And then last game here, the All-State BCS National Championship, again in the Superior Dome in Marquette, Michigan, or the Superdome in New Orleans. Again, either or, who knows? Um, but number 2 LSU beat number 1 Ohio State 38-24. The game really wasn't even as close as the score indicated. It was 14
No,
points. But
no.
Matt Flynn, 19 to 27, 174 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 1 pick. Uh, Ohio State running back Beanie Wells, 20 carries, 146 yards and a touchdown. And then Ohio State wide receiver and current Ohio State wide receiving coach Brian Hartline, 6 catches, 75 yards and a touchdown. So LSU, first 2-loss team in the BCS era to win a national championship. And really since then, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it feels right. Um, yeah. But is there anything else you want to talk about with that season? I have one other thing that just for shits and gigs that we can throw in there if you want.
Just to hit on the national championship game, it really wasn't like this looked and felt like a 38-10 game.
Yeah.
LSU was in control the entire time. Ohio State did not deserve to be in this game. LSU definitely had a good argument. Don't get me wrong. But I think the game that everyone deserved to see, and truly if the game that would have happened should there have been a playoff in 2007, was Georgia and LSU or Georgia and USC.
Well, with USC, I forgot about. I don't know if I think that might have been the episode that I wasn't there for, but USC lost to a 4-win Stanford team in Jim Harbaugh's first year.
They
So
did.
that was a tough look. That's really what kept them out of it.
It is. But no, I mean, if you're talking the best teams at the end of the season, LSU, Georgia, and USC.
Yeah.
And once again, Ohio State doesn't deserve to be there.
Mm. Well, ball don't lie. That's why they got their ass kicked.
It is.
And then so that's the 2007 season. Just for shits and gigs to kind of put a bow on it, what it looked like in 2008 for the preseason poll, what everybody was kind of thinking going into that year, which we're not going to get into that season, obviously, but just the preseason poll here. Georgia, of course, is number 1 in the preseason poll, first time in, I think, either ever or a long time. I can't remember. I should have
Very
put that
long
down.
time at minimum.
Yeah. Ohio State was 2, USC 3, Oklahoma 4, Florida 5. Bringing back Heisman winner Tim Tebow. 6, Missouri, 7, LSU, 8, West Virginia with a brand new head coach. 9, Clemson, 10, Auburn, 11, Texas, 12, Texas Tech, 13, 13, Wisconsin, 14, Kansas, 15, Arizona State, 16, BYU, 17, Virginia Tech, 18, Tennessee, 19, USF, 20, Illinois, 21, Oregon, 22, Penn State, 23, Wake, of all teams. Alabama coming in there at 24, and then number 25, eat shit Pitt.
I do just want to throw this out there since the Big Ten likes to talk about the past of teams that are now in the Big Ten. 10 of these teams that were ranked in the 2008 preseason poll are currently SEC teams.
There they are.
Just saying.
Good Lord. Yeah. It's like 5 of the top 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5, yeah. 5 of the top 10 SEC.
Yeah, and 10 of the top 25. But that's going to do it. We're not planning on covering the 2008 season as of yet. We are in discussions about talking about the 2012 season next off season. Still undecided. So if you guys have an opinion, if you want us to cover 2012, another season, if you want us to quit doing this kind of thing, let us know. But follow us on social media at nothing.finder.pod on Twitter, at finder or nothing.finder.pod on Instagram, at finderpod on Twitter. Look us up on Facebook and YouTube. We are Nothing Finder Podcast on TikTok. Come hang out with us August 31st at Barrel House South. Check out our merch on millions.co. Rate and review the show 5 stars if you have not already done so. And always remember, there is nothing finer in the land
Than a drunk, obnoxious Georgia fan.